we're going to start anyway because these things otherwise they make you look like you're just staring at a camera and nothing's happening. So, welcome to this month's episode and our kickoff for 2026. For those of you who've been here before, you know that we do these lives for tarot books and tarot books only. And this month we are doing The Cards You Are Dealt with my good friend here, Teresa Reed. And I love Teresa's books. I've got several of them, but there's something very special about this one for me. And Teresa, tell me why you decided to write a book that pretty much goes against every other book that's out there because it's filled with positivity and, sparkles. But this one's real. This one's gritty.
It is a gritty book, and I'll tell you the reason why I wrote that book, Lisa. And by the way, I've got a lot of your books. Your books are amazing. So thank you for thank you for putting all the things out there that you're putting out there too. It's super helpful for tarot folks. And I think I'm going to speak for you and I. I think we really ultimately we want to help people. And one of the things that I noticed that was missing in tarot literature is a book on how to deliver readings for people who are dealing with some super heavy stuff. Shaheen Miro and I touched on that briefly in Tarot for Troubled Times, but I wanted to talk about things like what if someone comes to you and they're dying? Or what if somebody is dealing with a serious illness? How do you read for them? What do you say as a professional? What if you're dealing with that situation yourself? How do you read for yourself and remain objective? There's no training on that. There is no information out there. It's very hard to find. But Lisa, the majority of the time when I used to read for the public, which I haven't done for like 6 years now, a lot of folks would come to me not to talk about the tall, dark, handsome stranger. People do, of course. But I would have a lot of people who are going through trauma, who are going through some really super heavy stuff. And the tarot table was the only safe place they could talk about it with somebody. And nobody trained you for that. We get trained mostly, well, here's how to predict this and that, here's about love. But what about the heavy stuff? So that was something that just rambled around in my head for a long time. And finally, I approached Wiser and I said, listen, we need a book like this because there are a lot of readers out there who take like a 6-week certification course, don't consider that these things may come to their table, and they're out there doing unintentional harm. So
Yeah.
the goal is to prevent unintentional harm for professionals, but also to give anyone who's dealing with these things some solid guidance from someone who's done the work for over 30 years.
Yeah, and one of the things I love about this book is that, I mean, it does touch on grief. It does touch on death. It touches on job loss and caregivers. And, from someone who myself actually works predominantly in the healing field with Reiki clients, these are things that I see all the time. Like the majority of people who are coming to holistic practitioners, to which I throw tarot readers in there, they're coming because life is not working or life is difficult or
Mhm,
there is something that they cannot conceptualize themselves a way out of.
mhm.
So, like, to me, that's the gap that this book really fills. And for those of you who don't have it, this is what it looks like. Go get it. Um, let's talk a little bit about the grief one because I'm
Mhm.
a big grief person. I think grief is
Same.
good. I think that we don't talk about grief enough. I don't think we talk about how healthy grief is, and I love seeing it in here. So let's talk a little bit about tarot and grief.
Well, here's the thing too with grief. Grief is not a sexy subject. And I'm going to say that grief is not a sexy subject. And when somebody is going through grief, we get very uncomfortable with that because suddenly it's bringing up all kinds of things for us. So, a lot of times, if we have someone in our lives who's grieving or if we're going through grief, there's a lot of there's so much discomfort about it that it's really hard to process it in a normal, healthy way. We want to sweep it under the rug. We want to tuck it away in some laundry basket and forget about it. And I think grief needs to be talked about. I think it needs to be talked about a lot. And I think also people need to be able to approach it in a way that is really safe. And I think tarot provides that. One of the things I wrote about in the book was children and grief. That's something I'm really, really big on because I think a lot of times children, we don't talk about death with them, for example. And children then have a lot of unprocessed grief when they lose a loved one. I know when I lost my grandmother, there were certainly things we didn't talk about. And one of the techniques I have in there is for children, but we can use this as adults, is to pick a card to show you're feeling and then talk about it. That can open the floodgates. And once we start the conversation about it and about how we're feeling, that's when the healing begins. One of the things people hear me say a lot is feelings are healing. And I know we live in a society where people don't like to feel their feelings. I like to feel mine. I want to know what I'm feeling. I don't want it stuffed somewhere. I want to be able to articulate, I'm feeling really sad or I'm feeling really heavy. Because again, once we're talking about it, now we can begin the healing. And tarot's a perfect way to begin talking about it. Even if you're only talking about it with yourself, having an internal dialogue, that's the first step towards really facing it and dealing with it in a healthy, holistic manner.
I'm glad you touched on children and grief there, because one of the things that I actually have done with my tarot, because I was a child, I lost two close people to me before I was 10. My father when I was 5, and then my grandmother when I was 9, who we were living with at the time. And as an adult who didn't get the
Mhm.
opportunity to talk about grief because it wasn't talked about. We don't talk about it. We just suck it up and move on, which is a very Australian philosophy. Um, tarot was one of those tools that did help me a lot to
Mhm.
process that because the visuals are so powerful, especially if you've got the right deck that amplifies that vision. Um, and I was just wondering because you primarily use the Rider-Waite Smith
Mhm.
here, but do you have, and I know you have created your own deck for children, but is there a deck that you like to work with around this particular subject, or do you like to just leave it to
I
whoever's dealing with it?
I always first of all, for anybody who wants to, you gotta pick your own deck that really resonates for you. I find that the straight up Rider-Waite-Smith deck is fine. I prefer the Wiser Tarot because it has representation in it, which, the Rider-Waite-Smith deck is problematic because it doesn't. But I prefer that deck, for adults and for children. I think one of the things, and I'm gonna come back to tarot for kids too. One of the things that we underestimate with children is that we underestimate how smart they really are. A child can look at tarot and tell you exactly what's going on or exactly how it makes them feel. They're unfiltered. They don't have, some of the experiences we have as an adult, which colors
Right.
or filters what they want to say. So you can use the Rider-Waite-Smith deck with children. However, however, Tarot for Kids is actually a really good deck to work with for adults or children when they're dealing with grief, because here's why. While I prefer the Rider-Waite-Smith because it's really in your face, sometimes people aren't ready to get in their face. Because again,
Mm,
grief is one of those weird topics. And a deck like, Tarot for Kids, or maybe even a deck like the Whimsical Tarot, or something that's softer like the Spacious Tarot. These are decks that can gently get people to open up because it's not coming at them hardcore. Again, it's ultimately they're going to be up to the reader or the person who's reading the deck. I don't recommend having a deck that's like super, super scary or too silly. That I don't recommend. I mean, if I was doing grief work and someone pulled out that zombie tarot, I don't think I'd like that. So we should be thoughtful with our choices. No offense against people who like zombies, but really be thoughtful with your choices, especially if you're reading for the public.
yeah, I think having a deck that children can relate to is really important. I know, like, I have tons of kids who have my mermaid tarot,
Yes.
and the only reason I know is because usually I hear from the parents that, or if I'm at the store down here, I've had tons of kids come in and be like, "Oh my god, you're the mermaid lady."
Yes,
Yeah.
and that's a perfect deck for young and old because it bridges the gaps. The Mermaid Tarot, it's really beautiful. It's got enough softness that it's not going to, really disrupt anybody. But what a great gateway for kids and for anybody who's going through any hard thing. It has that mythical feeling, and there's something ethereal about that deck that works really well. Another deck I like too is Radley Valentine did a Guardian Angels tarot deck
Mhm.
which works really well too, so that's another one. But yeah, the Mermaid Tarot, perfect perfect gateway,
Yeah.
perfect gateway.
Let's talk about, you also have a chapter in this book about global political stuff as well as dealing with the heaviness of the world, which
Mhm,
is to me is always relevant, but feels probably more magnified at the moment. Do
mhm.
you have any opinions on how we could be using tarot right now to assist with some of the stuff that is happening around us?
I do. I have a number 1 tip because right now what's happening, we are first of all, I always say the world has always been a hot mess because humans are messy. They do awful things. If we look back into history, we can see so many horrible things that we have done to each other. Shameful, awful, I mean, evil things. I hate to even use that word, but it's true. And one of the things that happens when we are living in a climate like we are now, where every day it is a fire hose of this terrible news, is we become very dysregulated. And so the body, mind, spirit reading is actually one that you should use anytime you're going through things. But right now, it's a good way to check in with yourself to see how am I doing? How am I showing up? What do I it really gives you an opportunity to check in with your body, your mind, and your spirit to make sure that you're taking care of you so you can be out there in the world fighting the good fight. I mean, if you can see, let's say we're doing a body, mind, spirit for myself right now, and let's say we get like for the body, 10 of swords, and for the mind, we get the devil, and for spirit, we get the star reversed. That's going to be telling me, holy cats, you need to take care of yourself and really step back right now and do some healing work. I might book a session with you for Reiki. I might go speak with my therapist. I might
Right.
take a day off and turn off the news when I see cards like that so I can again get strong and regulated and get back out there. Because one of the problems when the world is really being awful is a lot of times it not only deregulates us, but for a lot of us, we want to put our heads in the sand. We don't want to deal with it. We don't want to get political where we really need to right now be getting political and speaking up. And we can't do that if we have depleted ourselves. So I think with the state of the world, the most important thing you can do is the body, mind, spirit spread. Every day, check in, make sure you're okay, make sure your needs are met so you can meet the needs of the people out there who are really getting affected by the horrible things that are happening right now in the world.
Yeah, and for those in the tarot community, Llewellyn is in Minneapolis. Like, I think a lot of people forget that the one of the largest deck creators that you have, and you have a lot of their authors' books, you have a lot of their decks, they are literally in Minneapolis right now. I have spoken to my work colleagues in Minneapolis. It's tough for them right now, but they're
Yes.
still getting decks out. They're still
Yep.
getting books out. They're still feeding this community. And, I think it is one of these things where we do have to be mindful of the people who create the products that you are using and where they are located. So please do not forget, as you are going through your morning practice, that Llewellyn is actually in Minneapolis and they are doing it tough right now.
Amen. And I think also it's really important if you want to be helping out, you know, uh, folks, tarot authors or whatnot that are with Llewellyn, this would be a good time to really be supporting Llewellyn, buy their books, really get behind also their authors, their artists, and make sure that you are also checking in with them. I mean, I was just checking in with Barbara Moore last week to make sure she's okay. She's a acquisitions editor and a fabulous, fabulous writer. And she lives in Minneapolis. So I was checking in with her. I was checking with Suri Pluff and Cassandra Snow. They're wiser authors, but I'm checking in also with those authors. So if you have um, a beloved author or creator that's based out of Minneapolis, check in with them. And by all means, let's support Llewellyn Books, y'all. Let's make sure that we are buying their books so that they can keep on showing up and putting out the amazing stuff they're putting out.
Yeah, absolutely. Just because right now they are really getting hammered down up there. Like
It's
it's
awful.
bad. It's
It's
absolutely
awful.
awful. All right, so let's talk more a little bit about you, my darling. You are here on Substack. You have a Substack, so people can find you here. And I know, is it Instagram where you are pretty much daily?
I'm on Instagram twice a week. I do a live forecast, so that's where they can find me if they want to know what's happening with the planets. I let them know like on Monday I cover Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Friday I cover Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And here on Substack, I have a Substack called the Metaphysical Authors Confidential, and it is a book for metaphysical. A book. It is a Substack that really talks about things like some of the challenges we face as metaphysical authors, but it also has writing tips, tips about marketing your book, interviews with authors. And by the way, folks, Lisa's going to be doing an interview. She's going to be featured soon. Thank you, Lisa. So I do all these things to inspire people because I see a need. And I know that you're doing things to help deck creators too, which I think is really, really awesome. We have to be out there lifting each other up. And so, my Metaphysical Authors Confidential is to help other folks who want to write, who want to get published, learn how it's done.
And you also have a newsletter, correct? You have a subscriber-based newsletter that's off social platforms.
Yes, I have a subscriber base, just like my regular newsletter. I have a website, thetarotlady.com. I also have a Patreon, and on Patreon's where I do all my main teaching. I teach a tarot and astrology class every month. Every month there's something new. And we do daily card draws, political astrology. I just looked at Jack Smith's and Trump's charts together. Posted that today. We do community tarot practice, hot dates. We do a lot over on Patreon. So that's a place where I really interact a lot with folks.
Activist tarot, I think, is like going to be a big thing in the future, especially with these new planets. And I know we're just about out of time,
Oh my
Teresa,
God,
but
yes.
like with Saturn and with Saturn in Aries, with Neptune in Aries, and with Uranus in Gemini, like I really see like spiritual activism, like more activism within our metaphysical practices is just going to go through the roof.
And when you consider Pluto's also in Aquarius, I mean, all that fire, all that air,
Air. Oh God, there's a lot of
that
fire and air this year. Whew.
this is going to be good. We're all going to get the spark lit so that we can start really thinking about creating a new world, especially that Aries energy, a new idealistic world for all. Pluto and Aquarius is all about the power to the people. And by the way, for people who don't like tarot readers or astrologers who get political, tarot and astrology has always been political, y'all.
Always political.
Always.
Always political. Plus the nodes shift into Aquarius too, so we get a double hit of that Aquarius energy come the second half of the year. So things are really
Mhm.
gonna like be popping off. If you're not using your good metaphysical tools for activism, you may find yourself in the spotlight anyway, just because that is where the energy is shifting. So be proactive. Be proactive.
Yes,
Okay.
please.
So our book this month was The Cards You're Dealt by the brilliant Teresa Reed. One of the things I didn't talk about too much in this, and I will wrap it up really quickly because I want to be respectful of Teresa's time, is the way that Teresa actually does the content in this book. It's one of the reasons I love your books. The way you lay out and structure your content is really quite special, and I love it. So if you are looking for information on the cards, it is definitely in there. There's definitely information on
Mhm.
all the cards, but this book is really good for if you, as Teresa said, you want to learn how to read or manage or hold sacred space for people who are really sitting with heavier emotions and they need assistance, they need real guidance, they need practical tips. This is the book for you. Thank you, darling, so much for spending time with me. You know, I love you. I love your work. I love everything that you have to offer for the world. And I appreciate you so much spending time with us this month.
The feeling is very mutual, Lisa, and thank you for all the amazing things you're putting out there in the world too. I'm deeply, deeply honored to share this space and this space with you.
Aw, thank you. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I will have the replay and the show notes up as soon as I get them done, which will probably be in the next couple of hours. Otherwise, see you next month for Tarot is Ridiculous. Bye, everyone.
Bye.